Hi viewers, I wanted to do this video. It's titled Choosing Your Peace and Recognizing When to Walk Away from Unreciprocated Relationships. Now, I think this is a really important topic, and I do want to say first off, look, I'm not going to just say an answer like do this, and then that's it, because it has to be a very or completely like an internal process. Okay, but what I want to do is more, I guess, like guide you and give you just some fundamental ideas about healthy, unhealthy relationships and just potential guidelines and signposts, so you can ultimately, or hopefully, watch this and then you get some kind of insight and then get some new boundary about, like, boundary is such a big word in counselling, about what is and what isn't acceptable, and then you can make that decision and hopefully make it at a point, if that's the path you're going, before things get really, chaotic, and I guess ultimately you like to keep your to keep your esteem in a good place. So what I want to say first of all is, if you're watching this, hey, maybe you're just doing this looking for research. That's fine. Okay, so that's obviously one reason people look for videos. But I'll maybe make an assumption that if you I guess typed in when do I walk away from a relationship which seem unreciprocated, I want to say that search, it shows that there's something in your intuition first of all that's making you think this. Okay, that's making you think something's not quite right. So without me saying anything, I just want to honour that tool, like your intuition. There's something there that's switched on that led you to search, and I think that like a seed, I want to, I guess, give some space for that to grow and that to germinate, so to speak, through this discussion. Now, often there's lots of talk in counselling, people say about noticing red flags, and you'll see one of my other videos also. We made a conversation around orange flags, which was quite inspired by a client I once saw, and this may well be happening. Just noticing things, and like when we're driving, we stop at the red light. But often in relationships, sometimes due to past maybe historical trauma we may have had, we've been taught to like close down and not actually respond to our intuition. Maybe we just we go along, and when something happens, we think, oh, is this just us? Okay, but I want to like bring out this idea of red flags, and even ones that aren't as strong, as we say, like orange flags, and for those to come, keeping in mind your intuition led you to come here, let's start sowing more seeds and possibilities into this. So I want to have this idea now of orange flags and red flags, and maybe things now that you've been noticing in your relationship, like past or present. So let's just be with those and maybe give yourself a few seconds just to start to bring them and just validate them as things. These things are occurring that are causing you distress, and now you're wondering whether or not it's time to maybe walk away, whether it is in fact an unreciprocated relationship and it's causing you more harm than good, so to speak. Now, going back to the title, choosing your peace. Well, peace of mind is just massive, okay, and we do often lose this when, as a therapist I once knew said, we should on ourselves. We think we should do this, we should be like this, or we think we kind of tell ourselves, like we rationalise something's not such a big deal. And maybe if you notice when you do things like this, when you try to rationalise and you're trying to push away, what you're doing there, you're, from whatever conditioning you may have had from the past, or whatever it is you've been told, you're deliberately ignoring orange or maybe even red flags, and there you're losing your peace. You're losing your peace of mind, and it's not just peace of mind and to choose this peace. It runs all through us. It's peace in our minds. It's in our emotions, in our whole body. So I just want this idea of peace to now, along with noticing the orange and red flags, become a priority, and we could say it may be a commitment. Okay, so there can be power in this, maybe, even though it can be a struggle on this journey. maybe now if you can think, well, are you committed to your own peace of mind, and also maybe being committed to noticing orange and red flags? And even though this may be hard, and this could be a journey for you to maybe start thinking about, and maybe if you want some extra counselling support, feel free to reach out. I can always help you via Zoom or in person. But if you can have that commitment, that maybe that's a path you're going to follow now. So maybe if you start doing this, then we can think of it like how hopefully you're committed to at least a level of safe driving. If you're a driver, you're going to be focusing on being keeping your peace of mind, and also noticing these orange and red flags like you'd notice, and the orange and red lights while you're driving. Okay, so if we remember that these things are there to help us to navigate, and noticing orange and red flags, it's never anything bad about you. You just may have been told that, but these are things that they're signals to you to say something isn't quite right. Maybe you need to make some kind of change here. Okay, so what we can do here is I guess you're thinking, well, yeah, but how do I kind of put this into practice? And what I often say with clients, both individually and when I work with couples, it can be a commitment to actually yourself first. Now, this can sound odd because, again, a lot of times we're conditioned to put other people before us. But this can be part of what I call building your own foundation. So thinking of these regular like self-care routines often fall out when we're in a distressing relationship, just like our good healthy eating, our exercise, and our sleeping pattern. They're three solid and very practical ones. But also the one we're going into now, what people go into in counselling sessions, is your self-connection. And that's where you can, what I want to do is now bring out your inner voice, so to speak, and allow yourself to have a bit of, I hope, with some words maybe we've got a bit of like a self-compassion to recognise, like if you're noticing something, so like just the thing that brought you here, okay, the fact that you're thinking and feeling something, that's okay, that means something. We're not just going to push that aside and say it's stupid. We're saying, oh, hey, wait a minute, well, that happened, and this is actually feeling quite odd. This isn't feeling quite right. And we want to continue this journey. Now, often when people work in counselling, sometimes I just do lots of validation. Sometimes someone's just there and they're just having almost like an offload. And just we say sometimes the value of being there, just being heard, and it can produce some sort of increase in self-esteem, because they're starting to, I guess, put themselves into a driver's seat rather than always thinking there's something wrong. Now, if you're not having, it can't just be a replacement for counselling, but if you can think about ways you might get that going. So sometimes as part of the foundation, so we've got the eating, the sleeping, and the exercise, but we can also say a self-connection, something like a journal writing each day, and then just being with what's occurring for you. Okay, so it might be you're just don't overthink it. Just writing. Oh yeah, feeling a bit funny today about that conversation, and that actually quite bothered me, and I'm wondering what's going on. And you can go for maybe just write about, one author said about writing like 3 sides, or maybe even just starting with 5 minutes, but just to write, well, what's not in anyone else's thing, or not trying to figure it out, but what's occurring for you, okay, and let that, how are you feeling, and then excuse me, and then that allows these sort of like signposts around orange and red flags, just to start coming up. Okay, so here, what can happen here when you start to do these like foundational things and start to put you first? Maybe if we're having in mind now this idea that your voice, your feelings are worth something, and that orange and red flags are a thing, that's important. It's very important to notice. We have a bit of a dance, shall we say, of your self foundations going like this. You're getting in touch with you, and you're realizing what's going on, and this combined with these practical things around the eating, sleeping, exercise, they can hopefully boost the level of self-esteem, whereas something should start to come. Okay, if you're thinking about the relationship, what we want from this is something to come like, wait a minute, like, that's really not acceptable. I don't want that. Thinking about your no's, and also maybe mixed in with this, a kind of vision about what you'd like the relationship to be like. Okay, so when you're playing with those things, with the self first, we want something to generate from there, because the other part, there's the communication with yourself. Then the other part, which is going to be important, is providing it's safe, is communication with the other person. And this is where this has got to come out in a way, ideally, there's 2 points to this, in just an adult to adult way, where we're being assertive, we're being honest, we're being time appropriate, and we're just expressing our wants and needs. So just talking about, a conversation and what something did and something like bothered you, and how you feel about it. And if you can, if this is mixed in with also a vision about what it is you want from the relationship, how you'd like to communicate. And this is assuming at this stage it hasn't totally crossed your line completely. And that, going back to, I guess, the source of this video is that point, when to walk away. That's got to come from this sense of putting you first. Where actually are your no's? This journey, hopefully, we've been on about the bringing out the yellow, the orange, and the red flags. Well, for you, has it actually gone too far in terms of the vision you want the relationship to be, and all these things occurring? Is there actually too much? And this is where it's the communication with yourself to understand the stuff, what's going on for you, and also mixed with the communication with the other person. But it's going to start with yourself. And I don't mean this as a cop-out. I've given you the signpost so you can figure it out for yourself. But for some sort of boundary to emerge, that big buzzword we always come back to in counselling, as to what really isn't acceptable. Okay, and is what's occurring now too far removed from the future for there to even be a future? Okay, and then it's from this space there can be the adult to adult communication, in which case obviously the relationship ends. But if you are actually, look, I have to put this out there, if there is really some sort of danger, that's where you need to go into what we call a clinical working. You can see my podcast episode linked with my website on this about clinical working, and that's where we have to be very strategic, and ultimately we're not really communicating in an adult to adult way, but we're kind of, well, how can I say, we've got this priority of keeping us safe, and maybe one option is just running off, but just being very tactful in how we communicate, so we're not letting the person into our emotional space, and ultimately we're moving out of there. Okay, so this thing about when to, I guess the point to walk away, hey, if we could put it a bit tangibly, there's going to be a constant overload of yellow and red flags, and I guess the relationship, to give some general thing, just constantly having this sort of grating, draining experience. You keep trying that adult to adult communication, but no matter what you do, it just gets backfired. When you try to set your boundaries about what is and what isn't acceptable, it constantly gets walked on. And then hopefully, if this is occurring, you're bringing back to yourself, and you're resetting and acknowledging your foundations and what it is you want, and you're communicating as a real priority. And then it should come. The answer should emerge from that space in your journal writing. Maybe there's connections to with other people, but with your foundations being first. What is the, how can I say, the appropriate expansion of your, or what do you want to build on these foundations? And is this relationship realistically something that we want to build on top of the foundations that's going to make you, that's has a possibility of making you more, or is it something that's just eroding your foundations? Okay, so I hope you've got something from this. We'll just do a little bit of a summary, okay? Because I know this is a big topic. So we're acknowledging the initial flags, and again, maybe that's the thing that's brought you here. So at the seed of the tree, we want to allow that to germinate and give that space to grow. Okay, that validation of you. We've got just a recognition of orange and red flags, maybe that have been taking place so far, and this hopefully making a commitment that you're going to look after yourself and be aware of your boundaries and your no's, and also your vision about what you want from a relationship, and also your commitment to have a peace of mind. Because if you don't have peace of mind, you don't have life. I mean, that just means something's taken from you. So if we have that commitment, again, your foundation, so the good eating, sleeping, exercise, a level of a good self-connection starting, it's the commonly missed one, and maybe like journaling and meditation, just to keep really honouring what's going on. And then this commitment, where possible, as long as it's safe enough, to adult communication, to communicate these boundaries and what is and what isn't acceptable and your vision for the relationship, and just to keep coming back to your foundation. And then you can let from your self-connection and noticing the orange and red flags, and how much it's getting to a point where the relationship's being eroded, and just finding your no. Look, it's hard to just tangibly say it, but there has to be, if in your journey you can get to a point, if you're cultivating your foundations, you should have a point of your nose kicking in. Sometimes one therapist called it the releasing of the warrior. What is this line for you that no one can actually cross, and keeping that very safe and very precious? And that's the point. If that's constantly being attacked and eroded, that is the signal point to walk away. And if you're continuing to show your commitment to your self-work and building your foundations, that will come. That no point will come, and then that will be the point to walk away. Now, I've obviously tried in this video to explain a process, and I hope it's giving you some good signposts and things to work with. Justice can't be an actual replacement for therapy, so if you do want to have some counselling sessions, feel free to reach out. But I wish you well on your journey. And again, if you've come here, you've obviously got these, some sort of seeds of doubt, and obviously we don't want to be, cynical about life, but often parts of someone's journey is just allowing the intuition just to start to come alive, and then for your, for that to be, your personal, signposts, and to give permission, so to speak, back to you to acknowledge these orange and red flags and find your line of what is and what isn't acceptable. So I wish you all the best with your relationship, whether this is a present one or maybe a past one still kind of haunting you. I'd imagine it might be more present one. And if I can help in any way, feel free to reach out. And I'm hoping to obviously help people as much as I can with these videos. I'm a qualified counsellor as of 2008. I see people in person in Auckland and eastern suburbs at Highland Park, also via Zoom. So if you'd like any professional help, very affordable counselling, feel free to reach out. And if you're enjoying the content here, please like and subscribe, and I hope to keep giving you videos of value. Okay, take care.